All right, so another fun session of live role playing. So who here has a scenario that has come up recently that they'd like to share? And remember, the whole purpose of these calls is to give all of you an outlet. So what you're experiencing in your business, you don't have the solutions made up in your mind. You kind of get stuck. Should I try this? How does this work? I tried something you said, Chirag, but this came up after. Look, the most beneficial part about this is people who open up and share. So who here has a scenario that's come up that they'd like to share? I know you all work every day. Don't be shy. Martha doesn't have a scenario. So we all have no situations, no objections, no challenges. We get every single client we want. The buyers and sellers are now very reasonable. Roger.
All right. So I held two open houses this weekend, and I'm wondering what's going to happen, come August 17th. I had a buyer come in that didn't speak English, and they had a very young daughter with them, and the best I could do was get her to sign a name on a piece of paper. And I'm wondering, how am I possibly going to have forms in every particular language that's available?
You're
And
not.
yeah,
That's as simple as that, right? So we want to build our business for the rule, not the exception, that there's nothing you can do about that, right?
okay.
So look, I think the other part to address the elephant in the room,
Mhm.
it's not clear from anyone in any state or any MLS or any company what the heck really is going on, right? It's not like the Department of Justice has provided a 2 million person trade organization a lot of clarity. Actually, they've just done the opposite. They're going to say, if you do things that we're telling you not to do, we're like going to be on a witch hunt. So look, I think the part that is the hardest to understand in this is you want to plan for what's going to happen, but you don't know what's going to happen. At some point, whenever they do it, you can count on Compass because they have a huge legal team of figuring this out and them giving you the technical, I would say, in the weeds part of this as fast as possible, right? But go outside of that, it's going to be challenging to figure any of this stuff out, right? If Roger, you put a listing on and it's like one of those really hot listings, Tamina, nice to see you here, is 50 people call and they're going to ask, like, does this offer out a compensation? How do you deal with that? Right. So one thing I want all of you to do is go back and look into those sign companies that had those recordings. Remember, you'd call and they give you like the property address, the information, and everything else. You might need to start using services like this on your flyers and everywhere else. Every property too might need like a Google Voice number that goes on the MLS, right? That says, hey, thank you for calling about 123 Main Street. We're offering out a sales incentive of blank. If you'd like to make an appointment, schedule one. If you'd like to speak with, you could schedule one, it could go to showing time. So these are the kinds of solutions that you want to start thinking about. Brian.
Um, Compensation on the buyer side agreement is what my question's about. Well, my team and I have been discussing, and also Compass has been discussing, how do you set your rate? For example, in New York, we've got sellers who are paying 2.5. We got people saying 3. We've got new developments, as you know, who will pay 4, sometimes 5%. So we were told today in our morning meeting that you can't put a range in this thing. But I'm not going to set it up so I can't make the maximum amount of money I can possibly make on the deal if it's being offered by the developer. So I was thinking I would put, well, my fee is 6%, but I'm willing to take a minimum of 2.5 or whatever I agree with to my agent,
Your
to my
fee.
buyer, so I can collect more if it's being offered by the seller side.
Yeah, so this is where, honestly, again, I'll give you my legal disclaimer. I'm not an attorney. I'm not giving legal advice. I'm not your broker or anything else. So this is purely for the sake of conversation, it doesn't make sense to me at all, because you're an independent contractor, right? That's like an attorney being governed on how they could, in my mind, exactly what they're doing is like a blended truth of socialism and antitrust. They don't, I've never in my life had private business dictated for services. Do they tell hotels how much they can cap their fee at? No, it doesn't matter. So look, I think one of the things, it's like the concept of a floor and a ceiling, right? And it just needs to be spelled out. Now, here's what I'm going to tell you. And again, please remember my disclaimer. If I were all of you, do you know what I'd be doing right now? I would be going to my real estate attorneys, you know, those ones that you send all your deals to, and I would be asking them, what kind of riders can I add to my contract? The companies are going to have their contracts, right? But what kind of riders can I add that says, based on a scenario, an offer of compensation, right? Buyers are going to say, well, if there's an additional money being paid, why should you get the money? Why shouldn't we get the money, right? Like, that is a very logical question, right? So if someone is charging me 2.5%, and now there's a 4% sales incentive out, why does that automatically go to you? Is that something we should split, right? These are all things that you have to think about, right? Or in your contract, it says, if there's new development, our fee is 4%, with our ceiling fee is 4%, with the floor fee of 2.5%. There's all kinds of, do you guys want me to pull up? I made a document a while ago, right? That I literally use my imagination paired with just my knowledge of the business, with all the different scenarios that you could think of out of this. You want me to read you that document right now? Would that be helpful?
Sure.
Right, since nobody wants to role play today, I'm kind of sad. Let's see. All right, so I'm going to read through this. There's obviously the first two things that I want you guys to think about is a knowledge gap and a skill gap. Do you guys know the difference between the two? I will take that as a no and one yes from Jessica. A knowledge gap could be if you move to a new area, learning the community, sales, absorption rate, right? That's just knowledge. Skills are the ability to communicate with people, handle objections. All of us need to be very present to what are our knowledge gaps, what are our skill gaps, right? In direct connection with how we're working today, not some general pie in the sky thing. Then the next part is you need to get surgical, right? Pick one system and master it. Now, agent to agent marketing. This is where I think I would, if I were you, put all my chips. So a couple highlights of agent to agent marketing. Number one, when you go on listing, pitches, presentations, conversations, consultations, whatever you want to call them, do you know what the number one thing that nobody talks about? Melissa Rubin, what's the number one thing that nobody talks about? Hold on. There you go.
I just don't know. What the neighbors are going to sell their property for?
Agent to agent marketing. Now, think about this. You guys all want a slick way to win more listings? Is I would show up and I would look at any given price point, right? Say you're selling, Melissa, in your building. I would print out all the comps. It says, did you know that 90% of homes that were sold in this building were sold via another agent? So, you know, what we find is, in our experience, that a lot of time and energy is solely spent on consumer marketing and not enough time is spent on agent to agent marketing. So I'd say, Mr. and Mrs. Sauer, let me ask you a question. If you knew 90% of properties were sold via another agent in a co-broke, where would you want to focus your marketing efforts? Oh, to agents. What does nobody do? Market to agents. I can't tell you how many times in my life people have paid me to come to my office to spend an hour preparing for a pitch. 5 million, 10 million, 50 million. It doesn't matter what it is. And every time we go back to the same thing. Focus on agent to agent marketing because nobody else will. Especially for those of you that have the network tool in your marketplace. If you don't have it, it's not there. It's not coming there. Don't bother your AEM or anyone. If it's there, it's there. If it's not, it's not. Right? Agent to agent marketing. So all of you need an agent to agent marketing strategy. How do you identify them? How do you communicate with them? How do you write subject lines and information that makes them want to open the email? Right? So if I was selling in, let's see, Brian, where are you located?
New York City and
Great.
Long Island City.
If I saw Tribeca, I would say Tribeca apartment under 1 million, 2-bedroom Tribeca apartment under $1 million. That doesn't happen every day, right? So if I'm an agent, I'm like, oh, what's this, right? You have to start thinking like a marketer. Your background fools me, Brian. It makes me think you're in Miami.
No, this is Long Island City background from probably about 10 years ago, before all the rest of the high rises filled in behind me. I'm on the piers.
So let's keep going. You'll need to develop a system to share commissions with agents, how to avoid fielding multiple calls. You'll need a system to know how much commission is or not being paid out on a listing before you show it. Your agent to agent marketing system will be a key differentiating factor in your bottom line. Need to know how to use the network tool or agent finder or your MLS on how to market to agents directly. Incentives can make your listing more valuable than others. Think developers who used to offer larger commission to get buyers. Now, here's an interesting thing to think about, and no one's talking about this. You have to be nimble in how you work with buyers. Now, think about this. If a buyer is coming to an open house, right, and just wants to buy that house, please explain to me why that person and a person that's looking for a home 6 to 12 months with you is paying the same amount of money. Anybody?
I'll go.
Yeah, sure.
Expertise. I mean, they're showing, just because they're coming to buy that house, they still need somebody to negotiate on their behalf.
Okay, great. Now I'm going to be the consumer, right? I'm going to say that's great, but why? Now look at a logic-driven person, right? If you're schlepping me around for 6 to 12 months, time, money, resources, same expertise, longer time, more of an investment. Look at it like this. If an attorney goes to court one day and solves your problem, that's one fee, right? If the attorney has to go to trial for 6 to 12 months, it's a different fee because there's more work required, right? Logically speaking, this is the same concept of, well, you agreed to charge me 2.5%. Now you're getting 4%. Why should you keep all of it? Right? These are all questions that you need to think about because they're going to come up. It's going to be, and I think about this, and again, I choose to use a broker anywhere I go. I would never buy a house without a broker. Even if I walked into an open house, I'm calling the broker I work with. 100%. But if I'm walking into a house and somebody's now asking me on a $2 million house to pay $50,000 and I just literally walked into the house, it's going to be, you're going to have a challenge. Victoria.
I was at an open house. Buyer, from yesterday would like to write an offer. So we were going back to see the house today at 12:30 and then meeting at the office at 5:30 to prepare the offer. So just met them. So, and nice couple. So how would you approach the meeting at 5:30?
Well, what are you trying to solve for?
Well, I'm getting the buyer rep agreement signed before, along with the.
Is this your listing?
No, it's at the, no,
Okay, so there is a compensation offered.
yes.
And what is the compensation?
2.5.
Great. So I would literally print out the listing. I would circle the 2.5% and just says that, look, what state are you in?
California.
Okay. So you guys have agency disclosure,
Yes.
right? So I would show them the agency disclosure form, and this is going to say that this is my representation agreement so that I can represent you in this capacity. There is 2.5% offered out. That is the same amount that's in the agreement, and there will not be any out of pocket. And my suggestion is ask them, do you want to make this for working together or just for this house? And see what they say. Look,
Okay.
don't push for the whole thing when you just need one thing, right? Like that's your own insecurity.
Perfect.
And you're not selling them everything, right? So remember how we talked about framing the conversation? Hey, like it's by law, you have to get an agency disclosure form signed, right? So you're going to say, look, this is the form that's signed, right? I want to just be transparent. This is a form and this is how I would represent you. I work for you and not the seller. They're going to say, great. And you're going to say, here's my representation agreement. Here is the investment for my services. And here I've highlighted that same exact amount is offered by the seller. And you're going to say, if something does change, I'm willing to accept a floor amount of this much. If it goes underneath that, there'd be out of pocket. But in this case, there would be no reason for that to happen, as this is already what's offered.
I don't write that fast. That was good. Thank you.
You're welcome. But see, do you see what she did here? She asked a real question, and I was able to give her a real answer. And now she's able to use it. Look, I said this to everyone. I talked to Jody the other day, and she said, my group wants a list of stuff from you. And I said, great, what is your list? So they asked if we could have some bonus sessions post August 17th on buyer representation, commissions. I said, look, make this really simple for you. If the whole group wants like extra training, right?
No.
Can we do more than what we've already done? I never say no. Never. So we're going to do 2 1-hour sessions on these exact topics that you want. Now, I believe in the world of meeting halfway. I can do my half. Do you know what your half is? Anyone take a guess? Show up with questions. Show up with questions. Look, if you don't show up with questions, you're cheating yourself, you're cheating the group, and you're cheating long-term growth and strategic advantage. If there's 30 people on this call and we have all of these different scenarios, every single week we could start solving them. We could start building them into our AI. And as a group, we just get better and better and better. And eventually you'll have all the answers to the test. Now, if you don't do this, we stay on the merry-go-round. Does that make sense? So every Monday, there literally should be a line of people. Think about it. If you were doing one-on-one coaching with me today, the people that do it pay $3,000 for 3 30-minute calls. And a lot of them ask questions just the same way you could here, right? But this is just in a group format. So you guys have an unbelievable opportunity. I will do whatever you want, literally. If you're like if all hundreds of you are like, can we do a bonus session for an hour on listing presentation and everyone shows up? I'll do it. I don't care. I'm not like afraid to do more work. I need you on your end to bring me all the stuff that's going on in the field, in the industry, so that we can adapt what we have to what's working. You all know that we don't like working in the theory world, right? No, you guys like this because it's actually applicable coaching. So whatever you want, I'm willing to do. We made the AI courses because what everyone asked for, right? So I'm your partner. I'm not your coach. And I think there's one thing, I care about all of your like mental peace and well-being. It's like the BLB, right? I care about your business, your life, and your bank account. Those are 3 things that we quantifiably want to make better. So please, on Mondays, when you come here, come with questions. I want to help you more. Victoria, you still have a question?
Oh, no, I don't know how to get rid of that. Sorry.
Okay, so
Thank you.
I'll finish going through the sheet. Martha.
I was just going to say that I think a lot of us, or maybe I should just speak for myself, I know a lot of people in my market that aren't even aware that things are happening in August. They're so totally unprepared. And I think that most of us on these calls that are involved and engaged are very prepared. You know, we might lack a little bit of knowledge because it's not clear yet what's going to happen in some instances. But I think for the most part, we're prepared. We just need a little bit more confidence in presenting and being able to say things. I think the thing that I'm most unclear about right now is the thing that none of us have answers to. You know, our broker of record doesn't even know. Things like, I forget his name, but the guy in New York that was just saying, because I used to, on my buyer's agreement, used to put, you know, I work for X amount or MLS offering, if not less than something, you know, and I asked my broker of record if I could still do that. And she said,
No.
well, she said you could. I asked her if the seller was offering more, which was the same thing the guy from New York said. If the seller was offering more than what my buyer's agreement said, if we could change the agreement for me to accept that additional amount. And she said, technically, yes, you can. However, it wouldn't look very good, which is essentially what you said, because the buyer's gonna really probably expect that difference back as a credit. But I think my issue right now is there's so many functional logical questions about what we're gonna need to do. You know, can I take that extra percent if I want to? Can I write something in the buyer's agreement that has more of a range? It's those kinds of things. I feel prepared because you've done a wonderful job preparing us. The accountability groups, I think, have been phenomenal in getting us prepared for it. So I think that's what I feel right now. I just feel unsettled, not knowing the answers to some of the questions that I don't think any of us know. And time will tell.
Yeah, look, I think part of this, right? It's a good exercise in living with uncertainty, right? So our two primary needs, we talk about this all the time, are certainty and comfort. Right. So it's normal. It's look, I could go on like the most epic rant of life if you just unfiltered me to talk about this, because like literally as a human being, it just makes me sick. Like the whole thing, it's not good for anybody, like nobody. Like the system worked and it worked really well. Were there a lot of agents that did not deserve the money that they earned for how much they charge and how unprofessional they were? Yeah, 100%, right? Like in any service in the However, in general, it worked really well. The fact that they took one subset market in the middle of America and made that representative of everybody, right? So Leonard Steinberg, he was in my office the other day and we were talking and he said to me, he goes, you know, Chirag, the average price point of a Compass agent is like $1 million. Like we don't sell housing, right? Like these are people that all want to use services. I don't want to be responsible for buying a house and all the things. It's a lot of freaking work. And beyond even the work, like finding a home is easy, buying a home is hard. Like there's so many different things that go into it. It's very time consuming. All right. So Donna's next. Now we're opening the floodgates. Donna, go ahead.
Hi, hope you can hear me. We're traveling. Two things.
Appreciate you being here.
So, I appreciate you being here. So if we are finding the buyer agreement, I mean, why wouldn't we just all automatically shoot for the higher commission and tell the buyer if the seller's offering a compensation that is less, we can negotiate that down?
Oh, I'll
Does
tell
that
you
make
this
sense?
way. If you're telling me that you're buying $1 million house and I have to guarantee you a $40,000 commission, you're now opening up a gate, right? So I would first, if I was doing this strategically, I would look at how many offers of 4% compensation are there, right? Then I would just say for homes, for new construction only, we charge 4%. Because those are the only ones that really offer it, right? So look, if there's a blanket service fee that I'm paying for contracting, right, in my house, and now a rebate is available for more than the 2.5%, as a buyer, I'm going to feel entitled to some or all of the rebate. You said your service was 2.5%. Why should you not get? Why do you want more? Right? There's so many different logical things that if you look at it from the outside perspective, you're opening up doors in ways that people may or may not want to hire you, and you're going to create a conflict that's not necessary at times. So
Okay, that makes sense.
based on somebody's price point, immediately I'd be looking to understand what the compensation was and if there's any new construction, because those are really the only listings offering 4, 5, some crazy amount of money.
Okay. The second thing is, I'd love to know some of your suggested email subject lines when we're marketing to other agents, because I think that, like you said, I think that's going to be the future, and it's always been the case. 90% of the homes we
think about how people look at homes, right? So if it's an overpriced listing, you could send it to all the agents who are not going to want to go, right? Like that's just the reality of it. But listings that are well priced or good deals or should move, I would literally put the area and under an amount, right? Like home in Tribeca, not on the market, off market opportunity, Tribeca condo, right? Things like that people would want to click. Now think of yourself as an agent that's always looking for inventory. What would you see in a headline that would make you open it, right? And then when you open the email, it can't look like your MLS description. So in our Chat GBT course, which is our AI course, we'll have some stuff on Plod Note too. We're going to talk about how to write effective emails and how to sell the sizzle. And look, all of the stuff we have in there, I have all pre-made prompts.
Okay, good. That sounds great.
Copy and paste this stuff in.
Okay, can I ask one more?
Yep.
Will the Compass search website, like if an agent goes in and uses the Compass website, will they be able to see the compensation for the buyer's agent?
Will a consumer?
No, another agent.
Yes, I believe as per Robert's last email, there's a way to put buyer's agent's commission on there.
Okay, we just don't know that yet, or know how to.
No, it'll be on our website. Look at the email that he sent last week.
But I mean, for the other agents, do we know how to set the other agents up so that they can see it?
I think it's for anyone that visits Compass.com.
Okay. Okay. Perfect.
Because think about it logically. How is the website going to know
Compass
if they're
Compass?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
It's logical for it to be for everybody, but again, I would ask your AEM or sales manager about this to confirm.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, we have time for one more question. According to the AEM, they haven't finished developing yet. One thing I know about Compass in terms of development, all markets are different. Right, so some are ahead than others. And look, Miriam, yeah, you can only control what you can control, right? This thing is a shit show. There's no two other words to describe this. So just focus on the path that you can control, right? And what we can control is how we show up, what we do, how much we practice. The more you practice, the more confidence you're going to have. It's like, look at a little kid that walks. They fall on their face. They fall on their face. Eventually they kind of stumble and then eventually start walking and then eventually they're able to run. Same process. Just stick to the process. There's so many people that have no idea what's going on. Like none. Like it's kind of, to me, honestly, as a parent too, it's scary. You're like, if you're not here and you haven't been doing this, you haven't been doing this in some extent, you are going to lose money. 100%. It's undoubtable because most people can't talk their way out of a paper bag. So our goal again, so please meet me where I am so I can meet you where you are. Show up with questions, right? We've worked really hard on the Chirag AI to make sure, and I have to just double check with our team, that you can leave feedback in there, that you can leave scenarios. The more we're able to collaborate together, the faster we can all grow. So I have another call and I'm 1 minute late. So Tamina, I'll be back on at 12:30. If you could join us, if not, just email info@Chirag Shah Coaching and we'll get your question answered for you. As always, love my heart. I love you all. I'll see you at 11:30 and then 12:30 again. Mondays are my favorite days. Bye, everybody.